If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell to be notified of future videos. Thank you.
Hello Internet. I'm glad to tell you today we have RSM, James Teitge, with us. He made a few episodes already in Afrikaans, but today we will do it in English. We'll do our best. And James, can you tell us just a short background of yourself, your military career in the South African Defence Force and later the National Defence Force?
I started in the Defence Force in 1975, January 1975, right after school, after matric. I was called up as a national serviceman to 4th Field Artillery Regiment in Potchefstroom, and I did my basics there. And after 3 months of basics, they sent me to art school, where I did my gunnery course. They call it a number 1 course. It's where you become an instructor on guns. I did that, my JLs first of all, and then continue later that year to do the gunnery course. I qualified as a gunnery instructor. And that was in 1975. In beginning 1976, I started as a gunnery instructor in 4th Field. I went back to my old regiment, and I gave instruction on guns and also basics. Presented basics to the new troops because I became a full bombardier at the time in 1976, beginning 76, and I carried on there until 1977, round about April. I was transferred to Walvis Bay in Southwest Africa, at that time Southwest Africa, today Namibia. And I was there for 3 months. But in the period before I went to Walvis Bay, I applied for Special Forces to do the selection course to become a Special Forces operator. I got a signal there at Walvis Bay, and my officer commanding told me I must immediately leave and rush to Durban, where 1 Reconnaissance Regiment was stationed at the period. 2 days later, I arrived in Durban, got a few kit there, went to Zululand, and I did the selection course. That was in May 1977. After the selection, I did the full cycle to become a Special Forces operator, and that ended in April 1978. Then I became I've passed all my courses, and I became a qualified Special Forces operator. That's what we call the correct word for a Special Forces operator. Most of the people know us as the Recces. And I stayed at 1 Reconnaissance Regiment and did various operations until 1982. Then I went to Fort Doppies. It's an operational base in the Caprivi on the border. I went there. They made me the base sergeant major at that stage there. And there I served for 3 years. And after that 3 years, they transferred me to Fort Ref in Ontangwa. And I became the commando warrant officer there. At Fort Doppies, I was a staff sergeant. I became a warrant officer class 2 when I became the commando sergeant major of 5-1 Reconnaissance Commando at Fort Ref in Ontangwa. And I stayed there until 1980. 88. In April, in that period, my wife died there in a bomb explosion in the bank because she worked in the bank there. She died. So it was needed for me to come back to South Africa with my 2 kids because they were 4 and 5 years old at the time. So I had to come back to the RSA so that they can be looked after and then carry on with schooling. So I was transferred immediately from Ondangwa to Special Forces Headquarters, which is in Pretoria at Swartkop Park. And they made me the recruitment warrant officer. And I did recruiting and still gave training to various courses at the different units, which I enjoyed tremendously. And then shortly after, they transferred me to become the RSM of Special Forces Supply Unit. That is this Special Forces unit where we keep all the logistics of Special Forces. So just to introduce me to become an RSM, I became the RSM of that unit just for 2 years, and then they transferred me to 5 Special Forces Regiment, and I became the Regimental Sergeant Major, Warrant Officer Class 1 at 5 Special Forces Regiment. After 3 years serving at 5 Special Forces Regiment, they sent me back to Special Forces Headquarters, where I became a Warrant Officer AOT. It stands for Warrant Officer Administration, Operations and Technical, which was quite a very interesting post for me. And I kept on doing recruitment, and also I became an evaluator on different courses and a kind of an inspector going around and check that the correct training is given to the people. I stayed at Special Forces Headquarters until 1914, and I went on pension, and I'm 6 years after pension, staying in a nice house here at Roodeplaat Dam, and I do light work for the estate and stuff like that. So I'm actually on pension at this stage.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, you were the longest serving member of Special Forces in South African history. You were there 36 and a half years.
It's 37 and a half years, Chris.
37 and a half. Well, may I say again here to you our condolences about your wife. It was a terrorist attack. It was a bomb which exploded in the bank. She worked there, and sadly she was one of many victims that day. And your children turned out very well. You told me in the previous episode. I'm just recouping here because there might be someone here who don't understand Afrikaans, and now for the first time is finding out who is James Teitge. You're also a man who did a lot of courses. I know that you were instructor in parachuting. I've just received a picture from you where you say you have national colours in parachuting. Can you tell us a little bit about your courses, all the ones which you completed in the army?
Sure. Yeah, it's quite interesting that a normal warrant officer in the SANDF, they do about 18 courses in his lifetime, and then he's a very senior warrant officer and maybe become a command warrant officer or a division warrant officer or officer of the army and warrant officer of the army and warrant officer of the SANDF. And then they've got about 18 courses. But if you take warrant officers in Special Forces, we must do those courses, which all the warrant officers must do, and we have to, since we are youngsters in Special Forces, we have to do a lot of other courses to become a Special Forces operator and also a specialist in in Special Forces. And then we talk about 50 courses, which we have to do throughout your career in Special Forces. So all operators in Special Forces, they do at least, the youngsters, at least 35 to 40 courses. And myself, I did 53 in total. Now, I must make a list and remember what I did and get all my reports so I can make a list of the 53 courses I've done. So I don't know, because where do you want me to start with my qualifications, my courses?
Well, this is almost at the PhD level, which makes us very, very grateful to talk to you indeed, especially in English. Perhaps what we should do is just a very short overview of the courses which everyone in your time had to do for the selection, and then we look at what the new selection would be for the current Special Forces selections.
Okay, I can start off with a cycle. Talking about the cycle, it's I first did remember I mentioned when I was in the artillery, I did basics and I did the gunnery course. Also did one advanced course in the artillery, and that was regimental signals. So that was my first advanced course I did in the military. And then when I went to Special Forces, I did selection, which I think you've got details on the selection that we've done from various people, and I think I gave you some details on selection, which I think it's the worst course any person can do in the world, is do selection for South African Special Forces. So after the Special Forces selection, you do the cycle. Now the cycle is about a year training, approximately 12 months, which you start off directly after selection. You must do you must go and do the static line parachute course, the basic static line parachute course in Bloemfontein. So that's the first advanced course after that. And then after that, I can just mention a few because it's never in that sequence. It's platoon weapons, it's basic demolitions, it's basic medical up to level 4. So you qualify as a basic ambulance assistant, which is the same as a paramedic. You do bushcraft tracking and survival, which is a very interesting course. The instructors were Bushmen that gave us the course because they're brilliant in bushcraft and tracking. So they were our instructors, and that is a 6-week course. The parachute course, just to mention, just to go back a little bit, it's a 3-week course. The selection course is 3 weeks, was 3 weeks. It's now shorter nowadays, but in my time it was 3 weeks. The basic demolitions course is 4 weeks, and the medical course is another 6 weeks. And then there's other courses like, I think I did mention the platoon weapons. Did I mention platoon weapons, Koos?
Yes, you did indeed.
Yes, that's another 4-week course. And then after bushcraft tracking and survival, you do a sea orientation course. You go to Langebaan and you do sea orientation. That is, you do some coxswain's course. A coxswain is a driver of a boat, for those who don't know. You call it a coxswain. So you get a coxswain's license on small boats. You do a lot of swimming, do some survival, sea survival, and you learn everything about the sea. So it's just an introduction. It's a basic sea course, but later you can decide if you want to go and do the advanced courses like diving and stuff like that. But this course is a 4-week course, sea orientation, which is a very interesting and quite adventurous course. The bushcraft tracking survival is also very adventurous, obviously.
May I ask why? Without disrupting you now here, what happens there, which is...
Okay, I didn't mention where all these courses are given, except for the sea orientation course, which is at 4 Special Forces Regiment in Langebaan in the Cape. The bushcraft tracking and survival is done in Fort Doppies. In Fort Doppies, there's no borders for game. There's lions, leopards, elephants, you name it. All the wild game is there, and that makes it so interesting. You in the bush with a bushman, and they teach you the tracking skills of tracking animals and stuff like that, and also tracking of normal human spoor. So that's a very interesting course, and they show us what to eat, what not to eat, out of nature, and how to dig out all these roots and stuff that you can eat, and how to set what do you call it?
Traps for the wild animals to eat them.
Traps. Yeah, to catch small game and big game They show us how to make traps for that. That's why I say it's a very interesting course. And then right after bushcraft tracking and survival, we do minor tactics course. The minor tactics course is a 9-week course. That is where we combine everything that we've been taught. We combine it now. Okay, there's one course I didn't mention, and that's the air orientation. You get a sea orientation, you get the air orientation. I didn't mention the air orientation course. The air orientation course is, again, a lot of jumping, advanced jumping, where they also teach you how to jump with a square parachute. The first static line, basic static line parachute course is only round parachutes. You jump with round parachutes, but in the air orientation course, they give you a course on how to pack and how to jump with square parachutes, because a square parachute can fly much further than a round parachute. A round parachute is just to go straight down. A square parachute, you can fly far. And then also during this air orientation course, you get taught everything about our aircraft, our South African aircraft, and then also the recognition of enemy aircraft of all the countries in Africa that use, and normally it's Russian aircraft. You must know all those aircraft, and the reason for that is if you do a reconnaissance somewhere, you come back with a reconnaissance, you must say it's that type of aircraft, and you must give a full description of that aircraft. So they teach us on this course how to recognize enemy aircraft and foreign aircraft, and also everything about our own aircraft, because you must know the capabilities of our aircraft. How far do they fly? And when you're in a situation far from here and you need air support, you must know Impala can fly only that far, and it can deliver these weapons. So you must know everything about our aircraft. And a Mirage, at the time when we had them, can fly that far, and it can deliver these bombs and machine gun fire to give air support. So that is also quite an interesting course, quite a nice course. And you do a lot of parachuting again. They also teach you how to do rappelling and fast roping from helicopters by using a rope and fast rope down from the helicopter onto a roof or a specific area. So that is also quite a very nice course. And then I go back to the minor tactics course, which I mentioned that all the courses that you've done on the cycle, they combine all these courses and they show you where does it fit in an operation. So if you need an aircraft to do close air support, you know how to do it because you did the course. If you need a boat to go somewhere, you know how does it work, and you can apply for a boat and you can do the operation with a boat. So also the weapons course, the platoon weapons, because you use these weapons and they teach you how to attack, and you get a chance to operate all these weapons in an operational situation. You do some reconnaissance, you do vehicle movement, you walk long distances again. So it's a combination of all these courses to show the students where does it fit into the operational arena, and we call it minor tactics. You will also notice that all these courses that I mentioned is only courses for special forces. We do not allow any outsiders to do these courses. It's not permitted. And also, if you listen to the name, those names does not appear anywhere in the South African National Defence Force courses. It's known only to special forces, like minor tactics. You don't get minor tactics in the infantry. You don't get minor tactics in the Navy or in the Air Force. It's only known to special forces. Air orientation is only a special forces course. Sea orientation is only a special forces course. It's not a course for any outsiders in the SANDF. And then after the cycle, you qualify as a special forces operator when you pass all these courses. And now you are we can call it an Indian. You are just a qualified operator. You can be utilized in a team to do operations just as a member. But remember, a young student that just qualified as special force operator, he did not do any advanced courses, so he's not a specialist. But from now onwards, he can choose what unit he wants to go to fire special forces regiment. Remember, it's one reconnaissance regiment that this cycle has been done. And today it's not called one reconnaissance regiment, it's now called Special Forces School, which is situated at Murray Hill, near Bommansdal, just outside Pretoria. That is where the Special Forces School is situated. And also all your advanced courses is done through the school. So after you qualified as special force operator, as I said, you can be utilized as a member in a team to do operations. And as time goes by, you do the advanced courses, and there's many of them. I mean, just to take explosives, for instance, you did the basic demolitions course. But after the basic demolitions course, there's many advanced demolitions courses up to IOD. IOD stands for improvised ordnance explosives. And up to that stage, it's about 8 months, all the courses you must do until you become a very, highly specialized person or a specialist in demolitions. And the same with the medical course. You've done the basic medical course up to level 4, and you can go up to level 9 in the advanced courses. And that is almost a year of training to become a level 9 paramedic. If you take the parachute courses, for instance, to do all the advanced courses, you can, after the basic static line course, you can jump with a round parachute and a square parachute, because remember, we did the course on the air orientation course, you can jump with a square parachute. But that is not free fall. It's all static line. Static line means there's a connection between the aircraft on a cable and a line to your parachute. When you leave the aircraft, that static line will deploy your parachute. in free fall and halo, and halo stands for high altitude, low opening, and HAO stands for high altitude, high opening. When you leave the aircraft, you go into free fall for a few minutes before you open your parachute, and then you fly to your target. In HAO, it's when you leave the aircraft, it means HAO stands for high altitude, high opening. You just leave the aircraft, you open your parachute. The aircraft flies at 35,000 feet. So at 35,000 feet above sea level, you open your parachute immediately and you can fly a long distance, because the square parachute has got a built-in speed of 35 kilometers an hour, and they drop you upwind, far from the target, and you can fly up to 75 kilometers to your target. So the opening shock and the sound of the opening of the parachute, the enemy cannot hear it. At night, you can fly far and get to the target. So the advanced courses is very intensive and quite long courses. I mean, after static line parachute course, you do the dispatches course. After dispatches, you become an instructor, parachute static line instructor, and after that, you become a free fall instructor. After free fall instructor, you became a halo instructor, and then after that, you can become a tandem master. Tandem master is where you attach a person to your body with a special harness. And then you can jump with that person. That's normally a person that is not qualified in jumping. Like, for instance, a doctor. Let's say we must get a doctor urgently far away from our base, at a far distance, and you have to get a doctor there immediately. You strap a doctor to yourself, and the aircraft flies there because it's fast, and you jump over the target or the area where they need the doctor, and you can land with the doctor, and the doctor is there within a few hours. So that's the main reason why we do tandem course in the parachuting arena. And also I can talk a lot of other advanced courses, like for instance sniping. There's a part of the course that you do advanced urban warfare. There's heavy weapons. It's a 6-week course. The reason why we do the heavy weapons course, that's all weapons above the platoon weapons, the small platoon weapons. I'm talking about heavy weapons. The reason why we do this course, we use heavy weapons on our vehicles. Which if we have to do operations with vehicles, we mount big guns and machine guns onto the vehicles if we do those operations. So I can mention a lot of advanced courses. There's one course that we mentioned, I didn't mention, is lock picking. We teach guys to open any lock on the market and how to open these locks. So we do funny courses like that. Advanced urban warfare course. What else is there? Other advanced courses for the people who's interested in the seaborne courses. You do advanced diving. Advanced diving, you get attack diving 1 and you get attack diving 2. That is an 8-month course to do the advanced attack diving. And again, I mentioned attack diving. It's not the same as the Navy divers. Attack diving the name is only for special forces. The Navy, they use Navy diving. We don't do that. We do attack diving. The difference between the Navy diving, they do defensive diving. That is just to protect our harbors, inspect boats at the bottom and stuff like that. We attack. We go to the enemy and we go undersea and we go to attack a target, and that's a big difference. The big difference between our diving and the Navy diving. Navy divers do not attack. They don't have the equipment. They are not specialized to do that. They don't have the training. They cannot do it. It's only special forces that can do that. And so I can mention other Advanced courses, I can't at the very moment think of all those courses, but there are many. There are many courses that we have as advanced courses. I must mention the let's call it the senior course of Special Forces, and that we call Team Leaders course. A Team Leaders course is a 4-month course where we teach members of Special Forces to become a team leader. We teach him how to take a team into an operation. So he becomes the team leader of that team, and he must do all the rehearsals, all the preparations, and the target analysis. He must do everything, and he must present it, orders to his team, and he will take the team in and go and attack that target. It depends if it's a reconnaissance target, reconnaissance on a target, or maybe a demolition task, or whatever, attack. It can be different tasks that Special Forces do to go and do. So that is the most senior course where we teach guys to become a team leader. And a team leader is also owned to Special Forces. No other SANDF member is allowed to do these courses. And we do not allow any SANDF member to sit in or be a student on a course, any of these courses. It doesn't matter what course, we do not allow them to do it. Not even bushcraft tracking and survival, which is quite a nice course and a very adventurous course. We do not allow outsiders to do any of these courses. I cannot think of any other advanced course. I didn't mention vehicle course. It's also an advanced course because you must be a driver on our Special Forces vehicles, and because you do a heavy weapons course, you do a vehicle course, and if you combine this two, you can go and do an operation. So there's a vehicle Special Forces vehicle course as well that you can do.
It seems to me,
other courses. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it seems to me that you can have an entire life in Special Forces. You can really, if you can make it, if you can hack it, you really can live your life inside Special Forces. So may I ask you, tell me about the Special Forces man as a human being. Because what you mentioned here is outside of this world. You're talking here about soldiers trained at a level which few people will ever reach. But what makes him tick?
You know, it differs from person to person. Normally, if I can take myself, when I decided to go to Special Forces, I saw a recruitment video where there's actors in it and Special Forces doing tasks, and there were functions, and there were, you know, nice things. They show the nice things on the recruitment video. There's also a nice girl driving with a boyfriend, which is a Special Forces operator in a beach buggy, and it's very attractive. You know, they make the recruitment video very attractive. Later the recruitment movies and the videos is not the same as the first one I've seen, but that is not what attracted me to Special Forces. I was in the artillery, and I've done a few courses in the artillery. And what else? What else is there to do in the artillery? I mean, I became a gun instructor on the 25 pounder, and I became a gunner instructor on 140 mil. It's a big medium gun. So what else is there? I want to do more. And when that recruitment team visited Fourth Field when I was in the artillery, I listened to their story, and I looked at these guys, and I thought, that's what I want to be, because they do much more. They do parachuting, they do bushcraft tracking and survival, they dive, and they use explosives, and they always busy. I mean, they will do operations, which in the artillery, your chances doing an operation is is minimal. So I thought I'm going to apply. Just for the interest sake, I don't know what is in store for me in future. I'm going to apply because it sounds very, what do you call it, adventurous. And that's what I want to do. I want to do more than I can do in the artillery. And that's why I applied. So there's different reasons why people apply for special forces. Maybe they see it different than I do. But speaking to my friends in the past, most of them said that's also what they thought they want to do. It's exactly the same. It's adventurous. It looks nice, and they do parachuting, and I mean it is very attractive. All these things. So that's why most of the guys apply. But now thousands apply for this, but not thousands makes it. So first of all, they get scrutinized on merit. They do a psychological tests, thorough tests, not the same as what you do when you go into the army as a national serviceman. It's much more stricter and harder than the psychological tests that troops do when they enter the SANDF, and then you do selection, and there's a lot of psychologists that evaluate the people. So if a guy has got let's say a slight psychological problem, or maybe a little bit of post-traumatic stress that he developed in school or at home or whatever, it will come out in difficulties, in time of difficulties where he has to walk long distances with heavy equipment. He doesn't get food. He's very hungry. He's very tired. Then the real person comes to the fore. So the psychologists, they check all these things on guys, and then they will determine which guys are stable and can carry on. And each exercise in selection, there's different exercises. The one exercise is where you walk 12 kilometers with the octopus. It's a 5 metal balls that is very round and smooth, connected with a chain, and 4 guys must carry these 5 balls from one point to another, and each other exercise brings out a different type of in that person, and there's many we call it human dimensions that the psychologist check. And also with the psychologist is also experienced special forces operator, and they evaluate from the operational side each candidate, and then at the end of selection, then there's a lot of people which will not be suited for special forces. Now, a lot of people think that a special forces operator is this crazy, mad, very aggressive, Rambo type person, which is not. It is completely the opposite. It's a person that can control himself, and it's got control of his temper, and you will never say, if you meet a special forces operator, and say that he is a member of special forces and he's a special forces operator. You will never say that. So like I said in the past, I said that many people, even parents, son, they don't even know what their son is doing, and also friends. They've got a friend that's in special forces that they know for many years. They never knew that he was in special forces and what he's doing. So people don't know, but you do get these I mentioned it before, the wannabes, which lie and go around and say they've been in special forces, and the reason why he left is because he became psychological unstable, or he started to get war post-traumatic stress. And I want to mention right at this moment to any person, if I talk about this, I want to mention to you, in my whole career, all my friends and all the members I know in special forces, which did operations with me where people were wounded, of our members were wounded, and some got killed. We went back to our house, we went home, we enjoyed the time with our wives and kids, and not long after that, there we go off again to the next operation. And I can tell you, with all the respect of whatever any person say, I've never seen or heard or know of any special forces person that had to go and do rehabilitation or go and see a psychologist because he's now he's got war post-traumatic stress and all this funny stuff. I've never come across any special forces member that became unstable or psychological unstable or got war post-traumatic stress in any of that sense. And the reason for that is because they are selected before, and it is determined before if a person has a slight crack in his life and is not psychological stable. It's been sorted out and he's sent back to his unit because he is not suited for special forces. And that is the reason why it's been determined that all special forces members are, and I don't talk about myself, I bullshitted the system. Not one of my friends ever became psychological unstable or got war post-traumatic stress. And you know what? It's also mentioned that the reason why members get war post-traumatic stress is because they had a slight problem in their life before, and it's never been picked up, it's never been determined, and now he went to the border, and now he got into the stress situation, and now he comes to the fore. Now it comes out that there's something wrong because it's triggered. He had it actually. He just needed something to trigger it so it can come out that he's psychological unstable, or he develops war post-traumatic stress and he has to leave the border and go back home or go for treatment. But never ever did I come across any special forces member that became psychological unstable or had war post-traumatic stress.
On this point, I have to tell you that I had the honor to meet a few of the Special Forces members, and they are exactly like RSM was telling you. They don't brag, they don't walk around telling war stories. They seldom to never even reveal where they were. They would say something like, yes, I was in 1 I was in one Recce, and they leave it there. And they expect you to actually understand what they're talking about. And then they just totally not what the rainbow person is. And yeah, I want to ask the listener here, any one of you who's contacting me and telling me that you're a Special Forces member, please be aware. I'm not going to take your word for it. I'm going to go to people like the RSM. I'm going to go to the Special Forces Association, and I'm going to ask them if they know you. But can you tell us just in 1 minute, James, what is an operator's number?
Okay, all the operators' badges, especially the first one, we also always refer to the first operator's badge. That is the badge when you qualify on a big parade, which the host is sometimes the president, which happened in the past, or the chief of the National Defence Force. It's a what do you call it? A high state of parade. That is where the youngsters, operators, which did the cycle, there's a parade, a passing out parade where they will receive their badges. And that's the silver badge. And at the back of the silver badge, there's a number. And that number is according to the list of operators that gets issued. So I think it is now the highest number at this stage. The last operator that received the badge, I think it's 1,200 maybe, in that vicinity. So the number is at the back of the badge printed there, and that name and that number comes in our registers at the headquarters behind each operator's name. So each operator has got a number, and that number is the operator's badge number. So if anyone asks any person, he states that he was in Special Forces, you can just ask him, what is your number? And according to that, we can check it. Also at SASFA, the South African Special Forces Association, we've got lists which we got from the headquarters, and SASFA has got a list like that since the number 1 right through until the last number. So if someone mentioned that he's been in Special Forces, we just ask the number and we check that up, and then we will see if he qualified and what year. A short description behind each person's name will state what unit he was, what year did he qualify, a short history on each person, and also his operator's number.
So it's impossible. It cannot be faked. Once you have this number, it stays with you for the rest of your life. It's not possible that two people can have the same number issued to them at any stage in history.
Yes, Chris, that is exactly that. I just want to mention to you, there were operators' badges that were made, printed, what do you call it? Molded. Yeah, and they came out and they had numbers at the back. Now, when a badge comes to the headquarters, when they, let's say they order, let's say they at the headquarters, the HR, human resources, they do that, and they know how many operators going to qualify within the next few weeks, and then they order those badges. Those badges come to Special Forces headquarters, and it's been sent to the school, and those numbers will be issued behind, and the school will put the name behind each number. Now, I just want to mention to you, there were badges that came from the printers or the press or whatever you call it. I think it's the same place that makes the points, the money. I think it's the same company that makes that. There's a few that came to us that is DUTs. Now, those DUTs had also numbers at the back, and we discarded those badges. In other words, we did not issue it. So on the register, it is mentioned this number. Let's say 485. 485 is a DUT. Then they mentioned there at the back, is not issued because of misprint or whatever. So that number does not get issued. So that number is, what do you call it? It's you cannot use that number again.
Yeah, but
so that number does not. Yeah, that number will not be printed on the next available operator's badge. So that number is clean. That no one got that number. But in the register, it's mentioned there, misprint or whatever the case may be. And that number does not get printed again on another badge. Like, for instance, there's a few badges that went to the museum. We've got a Special Forces museum there at the Special Forces headquarters, which is quite a very interesting museum. I must mention that. Now, there's a few operators' badges that was ordered to put in the museum, and they've got numbers behind it. So in the register, it will mention their museum.
Are
So
we
never
allowed to
gets-
go to this museum?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
I'm not there anymore, but I can organize that a person who would like to go through the museum can go through.
So
There's
it's
no
open
restriction.
for the public.
Public, yes. There's no restriction on that museum. No.
And it's also so that old operators like yourself are sometimes invited through the association to give a talk, just to explain to people a bit more. At this stage, we always grin and we
Correct.
talk about the puppy which has been, its throat been cut. You know, there's so many ugly stories out there about your people.
Yeah, very, very, very bad stories. No, I went to a few SASFA. We call it SASFA evenings. It's a what do you call it? You know, a talk evening where they invite special forces. Yeah,
like
where
a
they
guest of
invite.
honor, which is one of you, and then people will arrive and they will talk, and perhaps there's a dinner, or I know that also to raise money.
Yeah.
It's a registered charity. You people do sell certain things.
Yeah, but they make a big thing about it. You know, they do a small exhibition there of special forces stuff, and they got on what do you call it, the Fundisi?
Yes,
Where they
auction it. They auction it off.
Yeah, the auctioning. Yeah, they have an auction on special forces wines and cups and glasses and T-shirts and caps, and you know, and that's how SASFA make their money.
But I need to ask something now here. If I buy one of your T-shirts and I start wearing it, would that be acceptable to you? Because I wouldn't.
Yes, but that T-shirt. Yeah, but there's a difference. That T-shirt is not a special forces T-shirt. It's just a special forces T-shirt with an emblem on it, but it's not worn by operators. They can wear it, but we do give shirts as well, shirts and belts, and with a special forces badge on it. No, it's not a badge. It's not an operator's badge. Let's say that there's no operator's badge on that T-shirt, but there are different special forces badges on it.
Because I do know that you have a wall of shame there. Sometimes you find people who's wearing that badge you're talking about. It's a dagger within a laurierkrans. What do you call that?
A laurel wreath.
Laurel wreath. Thank you, sir. You have that thing. I'll put the picture here, and of course you do get it in silver, and you also get it in gold. And I think you told me there's a 10-year, 20-year, even a 30-year one which you have. There cannot be many of you who have I want the 30-year one.
Well, the 30-year, I think there's only, you can count them on one hand, because when I got mine, I was the only one, the first one, and then they were not for quite some time. There were not any operator after me, but later I've heard that there's, I think, 3 that were issued to guys who's got 30 years and more.
So we must tell these people once again, do not, if you have one of these things, start wearing it in public. Because these type of it gets to you people, you do investigate, and you do have a wall of shame. I will put the links on here as well, so this nonsense can come to an end.
Yeah, SASFA has got a, you know, the what do you call it, the management members, the directors of SASFA. They've got people that works on the wall of shame, and also contact these people and speak to them, and sometimes go and visit them, you know, and tell them, hey, listen, stop doing this. You're not going to gain anything. So we put you on the wall of shame, and that's for everybody to see. These guys who claim they were in special forces, and you get many of them, eh? There are many of them. I mean, I read at least one a week of someone putting up something on our WhatsApp, our SASFA WhatsApp group, and say, do anyone know this person? And then Hein von Berg, he's the guy who works on the list. Then he comes back, Heinrich, his name is Heinrich, and he will say, no, there's no such member on the list. But each person, I can mention this, if there's any person that mentioned that he's been in special forces and he's a qualified Recce, if he uses that word Recce, then you already know there's red lights. Just ask him his number of his operator's badge. And then if he cannot give that, then he's never been in special forces.
I recall in the Afrikaans version, I wonder if you can repeat it to us quickly, about the bank manager, which you call it. I can't remember which bank, but he was telling everybody he was a special forces member. And then he...
well, he was... yeah.
And then he didn't know who Sergeant Major Teitge was.
Yeah. What was quite interesting on that specific thing, he was the bank manager of one branch from ABSA, and I went with a girl that's just shortly after my wife died. I went to a girl to this bank, what do you call it, function or drive or whatever, and the bank manager got all the people there in a circle, and they must explain where do they come from and give the back history and stuff like that. That's the members of the bank, not myself, not the visitors that was there. The bank people that worked in the bank. And so he was the last person to talk, and he said he was in special forces and he had to leave special forces because his previous wife, he had a girl there which he was engaged to, and he divorced his previous wife. And he said the reason why he left his wife is because he started to get crazy and he did funny things and wake up at night because of bad dreams and I don't know what nonsense. And now listen to this guy, and he talks to people, and no, they did this in special forces and they did that in special forces. And I gave him a rope, let him talk, and he talked this lot of nonsense. And when I've realized he's now finished with his talking, and I asked him, Willie, sorry, I just want to know, what year were you in special forces? And he said that year, and I think he gave the year 1982. And I asked him, who was your officer commanding at the time? And he mentioned a name which I don't know. And the year that he gave, 1982, I was the cycle. I was the whole cycle for that year. I was an instructor in that cycle, and I know exactly. I can call them by name who passed and who. And at the end, I asked him, "Do you know Sergeant Major Teitge?" And he said, "No, he doesn't know Sergeant Major Teitge." I said, "No, Sergeant Major Teitge is a special forces member, and he was an instructor there." And I gave him a short history of myself. And I said, "Don't you know this person? Because the year that you say you were there, that Sergeant Major Teitge was there. And he's an old member of Special Forces. Do you know him?" No, he doesn't know that person. I said, "Listen, that person is me, and I don't know you." And I said that in front of all the other bank people, and I made his name known, and that he's talking a lot of nonsense. So later at work, the people called him Recce, gave him the nickname Recce. So they know that he's a big bullshitter, not talking the truth.
Before we talk about operations very briefly, I wonder if you can tell us of a day when you chased an elephant, or when you try to see who will win, if an elephant can be chased by a human being.
It can be chased, I know. I've heard of people that chased lions before, away from their what do you call it, their catch. And I don't know, it's hard to take that and to believe that. But I've been at Fort Dorpies. It was in 1988, 83, I think, 84, round about there. And I said to myself, one day I want to rush up to an elephant and chase him away. I want to see if he's going to get a big spook and he's going to run away, a big fright and he's going to run off. I want to try that. So I was there's a guest house at Fort Doppies there in the Caprivi, in the Caprivi strip. We call it Fort Doppies because it was an operational base for special forces, and I was stationed there to look after the base over a period of time. So I was at the guest house sitting there with friends, and we were drinking beers and watching the sunset. Beautiful area, looking over the Kwandu River, and we heard behind the guest house. There's a rumble there, and we know it's elephants because we can hear it's elephants. So I went around the corner of the guest house and I look into the bush, and I see elephants, but there's one elephant that was close, very close. And I thought by myself, listen, I will never forgive myself because this is my only chance now to chase this elephant. I want to see if he's going to run away. So I scrambled all my guts and everything together, and now I'm going to chase this elephant. I'm going to rush up to this elephant, and I'm going to scream and make a big fuss, and I hope he's going to run away. But if he doesn't, the guest house is not far. I can just turn around and run back. I mean, there's enough space for me to be safe. So I decided now or never, and I rushed up to this elephant, and I screamed and I waved my hands, and this elephant got such a big fright. He turned around and he started to run. And you can think for yourself, I get this spirit and I get this feeling I've won. I beat the elephant. He's running away from me with his tail behind between his legs, and he's running. And I ran faster, and I started to scream more. So I thought, no, I won. This elephant is going to run. But it wasn't long. That elephant stopped and turned around, and he started to scream and he started to chase me. So I had to run like hell to get to the guest house. So that was my story about the elephant.
So we can call it a draw, I'm sure. I mean, nobody won or lose here.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Where Fort Doppies?
Because that you can.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Say again, Koos?
No, there was a lion at Fort Doppies.
Yes, Teddy.
Teddy. Can you tell us a few things about him? Because, SW told us, your friend, about this lion actually ambushing a few operators they're not operators yet, the one on the minor tactics course, and he would jump them, all sorts of things. I wonder if you have a few stories, if you can confirm him.
Yeah, I was lucky to be at Fort Doppies when the two cubs came there. Sergeant Major Devil de Beer, which was a founder member, one of the founder members of Special Forces. He was the base sergeant major there at the time when the two lion cubs was given from nature conservationists to Fort Doppies, because they know Fort Doppies is the best possible place where they can maybe rehabilitate it and go back to the wild. So the two cubs were given to Sergeant Major Devil de Beer, and I was just fortunate to be there at the time when he received these cubs. And he gave the two cubs the names. And I want to mention here that some people say that the lion, the male's name is Terry, like terrorist, Terry, which is not true. It's Teddy, Teddy, because he looked like a little teddy bear when he got there. A small cub, I think he was 6 years old. 6 weeks old, and Lisa is the other name of the female lion. So I was just lucky to be there, and I've been there for quite a while. Also helping deal the beer to raise these lions. So, and after a time, if I go back to, back home, back to Durban and stuff like that, and then shortly after there's a course at Fort Doppies, then I go back there and then I see the lions again. So I know a lot about the two lions. The Lisa, that is one thing people don't understand about lions. The female becomes an adult before a male. So the female, the male didn't even have long mane hair. He didn't. He still looked like a female. Where the female lion Lisa became an adult already, and she became on heat, and the wild lions smelled it. I mean, that's what happened with lions and all animals. They smell it miles away, and then they come close and they come into the base, and then there's a big fight between the wild, if I may call it, the wild lions, and then the tame lions like Lisa and Teddy. And so the wild lions, but the Lisa, the back spine, they broke the back spine. So the back part of Lisa was perished. She was lame, and then we have to put her down. So that is the end of Lisa. So Teddy was still there. He was bitten badly, but we fixed him up, and he became bigger and bigger and bigger. And later, what happens to the wild lions? He's now an adult lion. He's got big mane, and long hair, and he's a full-grown male after a year and a half, 2 years. Now he smells the wild lions far away when the females get onto heat, and then he goes on, after them, and then he stays away from the base for weeks, and there were sometimes where he was away for a month and longer, and then he fights with the wild lions and stuff, and he comes back with full of wounds and scratches and stuff, and then we just stitch him up, because there at Doppies there was a doctor at all times. They relieved each other, and then they do a service there, doctors. But he's not a vet, but he treats a lion like a human. Gives stitches and give him a drip and and stuff like that. And then Teddy gets well, and what happens again? He goes out again, out of the base, because he was never locked up. And I mean, the gates were never closed where he can not get out. So he goes out, and he goes after the wild lions, and then it fights again, and he tries to get close to the females, and it's a big fight. Then he comes back again, and then he's full of bloody bitten marks and stuff like that. There was one time when he came back where he was so bad that I thought he's going to die. So he was lying for days. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to drink water. He got thinner, and we thought he's going to die. The doctor treated him as best as he could. I mean, as I said, he's not a vet. But he treated them as if he treated humans. So, and then after a few weeks, I think 3 weeks, the lion stood up and he started to eat again, and there he was well again, and he put up weight. And what happens? He goes into the bush, into the veld, after the wild lions, and he fights again and comes back. And then we have to stitch him up. But every time he comes back, the damage on his body and in his face and stuff got less and less. And then there was a time that he goes away, then he comes back and there's no scratches on him. That's so it meant that he's busy winning this. And then later the stages, when he goes beyond after the wild lions became longer and longer. So at this stage, he just didn't come back. So I think he went into the wild completely. So that is, but there's a few stories about the lion. There's a few things you don't do when that lion is in your presence. When we give training, we have sometimes to run. You have to run from point A to point B. That you don't do if Teddy is in the near vicinity, because then he thinks you want to play, and then he's going to chase you, and he leaps onto you with that heavy weight, and he will injure a person. There's one guy, his name was Tommy Thomas. We called him Tommy. His surname was Thomas. He ran with a base plate of a mortar. They did mortar training, and there's a command that you say, 5 tassa actie, and then you run with the stuff, and you plant the plate into the ground, and then you put the barrel on in the bipod, and you get it ready to fire. And when he ran with this base plate, the lion saw it, and he chased. I mean, there's a lot of guys running now, but he chose this first one, and he jumped onto him, and he broke 3 of his ribs. So you don't do that when Teddy is close, because he wants to play. He doesn't know his strength, and he will hurt people. And the same, like, you don't sit and you don't lie, because he's going to lie on top of you and lick you with that rough tongue of his. And so you must always be in the upright position if Teddy is near. But what a joyful animal! He never was aggressive to any person, or bit any person, or hurt any person on purpose. He did it by accident, by playing, because a lion is so strong. I mean, he doesn't know his strength, and you will hurt a person if you play too hard with a lion. I mean, if you use force to, let's say you want to roll him over, he's going to use a little bit more force to beat you. So you cannot beat a lion by turning him over or something like that. He's too strong, and especially a full-grown lion. And Teddy became a full-grown lion before he went into the wild.
Well, as always, it's a delight to speak to RSM Teitge. You know, he's one of the legends. And I think next week we will carry on with further stories about Teddy, the lion, sometimes called Terry, like in a terrorist, but that's the wrong name. And then we will get over to operations, because this man had a fantastic career. The things he's done, the things he's been involved with, is just mind-boggling. So thank you very much, RSM. We are really grateful for you, and we'll see you next week.